Welcome back to the Subtle Sport podcast. This episode is sponsored by ST Flooring. Now, ST Flooring are a family-run business in Northamptonshire with over 25 years experience, and they supply high-quality carpets and flooring at a price you can afford in a bracket, by a service you can enjoy. If you want more information from them, then go to 01536 712 573. Thank you to them for their support. And if you want to sponsor, at least one episode this year, then head to our social media. We gave out loads of sponsorship details on our social pages. Get in contact with us. We are still running our football card for our main sponsor for the year, but time is quickly running out for that. But be sure to get in contact. Now, moving on to today's episode, we are joined by Quorn player manager Ryan Beswick. Ryan, thank you for joining me today, mate. How are we?
No problem. Yeah, I'm all good. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm not too bad, mate. Like I was just saying before we recorded, I've got deadline day on in the background. So it's the perfect sort of football day. Talking football with yourself and transfers going on as well.
Yeah, very good. None of that in
No, I mean, well, let's get into it then, pal. And I just want you to start by giving myself and the viewers a little rundown of your career so far, mate.
Start to finish career. So I started as a young kid at 6 or 7 at Wimbledon, the old school Wimbledon, and that changed to MK Dons, and I didn't like it there, so wanted out, and then Leicester got me from there. Moved up, did 4 years at Leicester, so 2-year scholar, then a 2-year pro at Leicester. Went from there to Kettering, which didn't pan out that well. Then from there to Solihull Moors, where I spent nigh on 8 years. Then Nuneaton, Tamworth, Nuneaton, and now at Quorn.
I mean, you mentioned there you're at Leicester at a young age. What was it like coming through there? You know, because I believe at that time it was, were they around the Championship, League One sort of area, weren't they? What was that experience like for you?
It was brilliant. It was good to, obviously I moved down from London, so I moved away from home at 16, which is, when you look back now, it's like, bloody hell, I've got a 15-year-old son myself now, and if he was to move away, it'd be this summer be the same age as me, and it's like,
Yeah, it's nuts, yeah.
No, so it's when you look back, it's a big deal, but back then I loved it. Needed to get away. Really, it was a good thing to move up to Leicester, and yeah, really enjoyed it. I met some good people that I'm still in touch with now, and some good coaches. It's a proper big club. It's
Yeah.
I don't really need to say much about the club itself. It's a bit different then than it is now, like the training ground and that. We didn't.
Yeah.
But it's it was still a proper club, and we played against some good teams and good players over the years. But yeah, it was good grounding.
I mean, what was that transition like for you then, moving up from London to the Midlands to Leicester? Was it difficult at all being so young?
No, I didn't find it hard at all, to be fair. I can't remember it being. I got asked this before, and I can't remember ever thinking, oh, I don't like it, or I didn't. My focus was just football from quite a young age, and then football was, I was doing it every day. It was like, bloody hell, it's every 8, 9, 10-year-old dream to play football every day, and got friends with like some of the older lot who were at Leicester, so I was then going out a lot in Leicester. So I didn't really get a chance to miss home because I was just busy either training or there was always something going on with the lads up here. So we had a great group at the club from first team all the way through. There was some really top people and coaches and everything. So it was it was good.
I mean, like the reason I asked about transition, because it can obviously be a really daunting time, especially for a young player. Like you said, you like 16, 15 at that sort of age, moving away from home. Was there any down moments for you in the academy where you maybe doubted yourself, had to come back from adversity, them sort of things?
Yeah, to be fair, it was really weird. My first year, my under-18s manager didn't play me, but the reserve manager played me. So I played more games for the reserves, which back then, it wasn't like the 23s. It was like literally the first team players who weren't playing.
Okay, yeah.
Reserves, and I was playing that, but I couldn't get in the under-18s team. So my brain was like 16-year-old turning 17. My brain was frazzled. Like, what's going on here? I can't. I was training with the first team, and I'd go back to the 18s and train with them, and not be as good as I was with the first team. It was really weird.
Yeah.
The first team players really respected me, and my own under-18s manager, who was essentially my manager, didn't see in me what they might have seen in me. So that was really, it was really weird. But I can see why, looking back now, why he played different players ahead of me for the 18s, but from my own perspective at the time, it was just odd, and yeah, it was adversity, but it wasn't at the same time. Like there was a
Yeah.
good, I was playing reserve football, but it was weird that I was on the bench for the under 18s.
Yeah, I mean, what was that like there? Because obviously, there's so many young players that do go out and go get like the men's experience. You are obviously in reserve football a bit more in that men environment compared to like under 18s football, weren't you? So how did that adapt you? How did that shape you as a player?
I think that was the worst thing that football clubs have done, is taken that reserve league out and made it an under 21s, under
Mm.
23s, whatever it's called. It's giving players false hope. Like they have to keep players there now till they're 23 just to fill a gap in
Yeah.
their schedule, because they've got games for the under 23s teams. Whereas the reserves, it was men. Like I think one of my first games went down to Arsenal away and Sol Campbell played. You're like, bloody hell! It's like in a tunnel and there's Sol Campbell, and some of the players we went to Fulham and that Steed Malbronk and old school players like I think Ian Pearce or something centre half, and they're just keeping in the air. It was men's football and it was brilliant. And I just think the 23s now, they're keeping players in the full-time environment till they're 23s, so the club can just use them
Yeah.
to play these games. And at 23, they're still not in the first team, and they get chucked out. And it's a proper reality check. Then at 23, it's tough. But yeah, I thought it was a great ground, and I thought when it changed, I didn't like it. Now I'm on a bit of the dark side, the coaching side of it. I still look at it and I'm like, it's terrible. It's bad for the players, I think.
Yeah, so do you think that's very much what a young player should go and do? Just go and get men's experience somewhere, whether it's like step 5, step 4, something like that, compared to just under 18s football, just go and get some men experience.
Yeah, yeah, that would be what I'd advise anyone who asks me to just play against men. Like even if you're a 15-year-old and you've got an opportunity to play in a game against men for your dad's Sunday team, just do it, because I think it just makes such a big difference. You get kicked around, you get pushed around, you get even the environment, the change of environment is like we've seen loads of kids come out of academy. Obviously, I spent so many years at Solihull. We had a lot of lads coming from Birmingham and Aston Villa
Yeah.
that come into the change room and they're like, what's this? These men, what we're talking about and how we're acting, and it's just a complete different thing. And like the 21s, they come from 21s football and they're nice and stuff like that, and they've not been around men and they're 21 years old, and you're like, oh, it takes time to adjust to it. So by the time they're adjusting to it, they're 23, 24, 25, and then
No,
it's too
yeah.
late. Your career's gone. So it's yeah, my advice would always be for players to go and play against men's football. Like even now, we've got some young kids that at Quorn that I rate and I can see progressing into our first team. But for now, it's pointless them playing the 18s and training with us. I've tried to get them to go out to
Yeah.
other teams in the pyramid to get games, and that's the best thing about our pyramid. There's always clubs that will take players.
No, I 100% agree with you. I think getting experience in any step of any men's football is definitely vital, because I've spoke to so many players who... I spoke to someone who's at Harrogate now in League Two, but he went on loan to Corinthian Casuals, who were like step 6, step 5 at the time, and he said it was massive for him. It was a real reality check, and he's glad that he went down to that sort of level. I mean, the last thing I'll speak about on like those academy years before we move on was there anyone really who stood out with you supporting wise in your journey, whether that's a family member or a certain coach or anything like that?
Well, we had a brilliant under-18s coach called Steve Bigelow. Anyone who's been through the Leicester will know Beegs. He's an absolute nutcase. But in terms of getting you ready for proper football, because 18s isn't proper football.
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good, but it's not proper football. Like winning, he cared about winning. A lot of under-18s managers don't care about winning. He would want you to
No,
win.
yeah.
Make you win every race in training, every five-a-side, every possession drill, every game on a Saturday morning, whether we were playing Coventry or Arsenal or Tottenham, whatever, wanted you to win. And he was brilliant in instilling that. And I think from our group of our period then, it was a lot of us are still in football. And I
Yeah.
do think that a big part of it was him and his mentality and what he put onto us. But I had a lot of people, not really individual help, but there was a good group of lads and a good club really to be at the time for a young player.
No, definitely. I mean, I want to talk about your time at Solihull next then, mate, because like you said, you spent a long period of your career over there. What was that move? Firstly, how did that move come about then to Solihull? Because they would have been in National League North at the time. How did that come about?
So my last 6 months at Leicester, I went on loan to Redditch, who were in the Conference North, and they were bottom of the league. Craig Shakespeare, bless him, was friends with a Redditch coach, so he sent two lads from Leicester to Redditch. We went there, done really well, saved them from relegation. They were like bottom, and we somehow survived. And then I went to Kettering, and it didn't work out with them there. And then a lad went from Kettering to Solihull that I was quite close with, and he was at Kettering, and he just texted me one day like, "Do you fancy Solihull?" I never heard of it. I didn't know where it was or anything. And I went down there, met the manager. He's like proper old school, old bloke. His name is. He's proper like, just no tactics or anything. He was just like, he loved his football, loved the club. Was at the club for years and years. I think before they had a merger between the two clubs, and he just said, "Look, I'm looking for I was a left winger back then, funnily enough. So I'm looking for a left winger. Do you want it?" I was like, "Yeah, go on then." Didn't really like know much. It was just the next club for me back then. It was just like, I need to get out of Kettering. It was really bad. And then he just said, "Yeah, do you want to sign here?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And yeah, it went from there.
Like I said, you predominantly spent a lot of time in the National League North with Solihull. What were the sort of challenges at that level? Because like you were still a young player, still relatively, even though you'd had that experience at Redditch, still relatively unexperienced at that sort of stage in your career. So what were the challenges when you went to Solihull?
Yeah, there was loads of challenges. It was proper reality check, really. Been in Cottonwall a bit, even though not as much as Cottonwall players are now, but back then you're still sort of in a bubble of training full time. Even at Kettering, we was full time, so training every day. Then it went from training at nights and trying to get a job to make up the money difference, and so you're working in the day, then you're having to get up and leave your house to go training at night, getting home at 11 at night. So it was about an hour from me. That was the hardest bit, and I couldn't get going. Bob tried to release me. It was funny, actually. He tried to get me about 3 months. So I joined in like the October-ish, something like that. And by January, he rang me like, "It's not working out, is it?" I was like, "No, it's fine." He was like, "You just don't seem happy." I said, "I just sort of, I don't know. Just don't get rid of me. Like, I want to stay." And he was like, "Yeah, okay, you can stay." And performance picked up the back end of that season, but I couldn't adjust. First 3 or 4 months, I was terrible. I couldn't get into the rhythm of my life. Really, it was hard to work. I was working in a warehouse. I was doing 6 o'clock in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and then going home having a kip, and then having to go to training and getting home late. And it was like, it was rough. My alarm's at 4:30 in the morning, and I just couldn't do it.
No, it's definitely it's interesting you say about that, because there's so many people in non-league who I'm sure can relate to your situation back then from Solihull, going, working the long hours of work to then go into training, driving wherever you're playing and everything like that. It is, it is difficult, and it definitely took a mental toll on you, I'm sure, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. It's really tough, and it's annoying. Like you see like people moaning about schedules of these top players that are going.
Yeah.
They walk around a pitch, and pitch is probably bloody heated in the winter, and getting a massage and swimming in that. I understand that it is harder for them, and the tempo is completely different and stuff. It's non-relatable to us, but with our lads, like you say, working all day. A lot of them don't go home between work and football, and then they're rolling in at 11 at night, and then they're up at work the next day. Like, that is real graft, and it's for love of the game. That's not for money. It's if you worked out most people in non-leagues average wage per hour is pretty crap, because money is not that good for that many hours that you're out of the house, that it doesn't make it worthwhile. It's pure love, and that's why since coming into the coaching side, I try and much as I can to make it fun. You don't want people to feel like they're at work all day and then they're coming to football and it's work again. It is a job, but you don't want them to not want to come in. I've been in situations before where I've not liked being at football. You just don't want that for someone it's their own time, really. They've been at work all day. They don't want to be doing it again. So it is so hard, and I don't think people understand how much it takes out on your body, your mental side of it, your family, your friends. Like you do miss out on a lot. Your partners, whoever that is, they don't see us. And if you've got kids with wife or girlfriend or whatever, you're out the house a long time. There's a lot that falls on them as well that we then have to deal with the backlash. And yeah, it's tough. And I don't think that's why I love non-league and respect everyone in non-league, because I know how hard it is to just get through it. To get through a season of how many hours you are out your house is a lot, with work, with football, with misses, keeping them happy. It takes a lot to do, and that's why I respect everyone who's in non-league football.
No, it definitely does. It definitely does take a lot to do, and it feels like the only time it sometimes gets a light shed on it is when the FA Cup comes rolling around, when like these glamour ties where non-league clubs are on TV, like Tamworth versus Tottenham the other week. I'm sure you would have seen it, like Tom Tonks' feature on ITV where he was out delivering his baps.
Yeah,
Whilst Tottenham players, like I think he said, like he was the Tottenham players getting massages and everything whilst he's out in the freezing cold.
yeah,
So I completely understand what you're saying.
yeah. It's true. Tonksy, like one of my good mates, and obviously him and Jazz got a lot of the limelight
Yeah.
in that week, and rightly so, because both been brilliant for Tamworth since they've been there. But it's true, like the Batman's out, he's delivering his baps, and he's playing against. I think in the same week, for some reason, Tottenham released Kulusevski's day in the live. You're like, why would you do that? It just
Yeah.
makes it look a bit like, come on, don't need to be seeing that, and he's getting up, getting a massage, and like it's a long day, but in a different sense. That's why I
No,
respect
definitely, yeah.
the top athletes are doing. It's not easy. It is still hard, but it's completely different to a hard day for us. And yeah, Tonksy and Jazz, they highlighted non-league quite well in the struggles of part-time football, really.
No, they definitely did. I mean, credit to him and credit to Tamworth as well. Just to go back to your time at Solihull then, mate. What was it like? What was your biggest memories, your most favourite memories from your time over there? Because you obviously were there for a number of years. What were sort of the highlights of your spell there?
Well, we had some great nights out. Yeah, really, really, really good groups of people, with some good managers, and but obviously winning the Conference North, we
Mm.
best team by a mile, I think, that season, and we won that with 6 games to go, I think it was. So that was a good highlight. Scoring the first goal for the club in the conference, I think I don't know what it's called now. It might have been called Skrill or something like that. Well, first goal
Okay,
in
yeah.
that was good, away at Sutton, which was my family are from down that way, so they don't really see me play football. But my dad, it's 15 minutes from my house, so my dad
Mm.
came and watched, and to score that goal was nice, and captain the club on their first ever game in the conference was good. But yeah, there's had so many more highs than lows, because we was always a really good group of people that I got on
Yeah.
with a lot, and some really good managers, especially Marcus Bignut. Still speak to him now. He's my best ever manager that I've ever had. He's brilliant, top guy, and I learned so much from him. And we had some really good older pros, and we had some really good younger lads, and we had some really good lads on loan. But it was just an all-round good club, well run, for the most part.
And then just going back to that night out comment you made at the start, where was some of the best cities you've been to with your nights out? I'm sure most of them must have been in Birmingham sort of area, being in Solihull, but I'm sure you've had a couple of decent ones as well.
Yeah, it'd just be random. Like we had a good drink in school, and we'd finish training on a Thursday, and we'd have a couple of drinks at the bar, and we'd just end up in Solihull, which is an all right night. Or like you say, go to Birmingham, and it was a student night, and that, so it was a pound a beer. Dublin just sticks out. We were in a group. The year we won the league, or the year before we won the league, or something like that, we went to Dublin for a week. It was just the best weekend I think I've ever had. It was unbelievable. It was just complete carnage, and the set of lads just summed up my whole time there. Really, that group sort of broke up and went our separate ways football, but we're still in a group chat, and which
Yeah.
we speak regularly to them people. It was just an amazing weekend. That yeah, just funny.
Yeah, I mean, I could agree. I've been Dublin before. I'm going Dublin again for St. Patrick's Day as well, so that's going to be yeah, it's going to be a messy one for sure. Very. But you also played for Nuneaton as well, didn't you? Like you said, on two separate occasions. What were those experiences like? Because majority of people know of Nuneaton's struggles in non-league over the past couple of years. So I don't know if they were going through these sort of struggles whilst you were playing there, but what was it like being at Nuneaton?
First time was horrendous. It was similar, yeah. It was bad owner. Lee Thorney was at Kettering before, so I knew Lee from when I was at Kettering. He begged me to go to Nuneaton and sold me the dream about how good it was.
Mm.
Went there first year, was just, it was bad, but you couldn't really tell. You could just
Yeah.
sort of feel something was wrong. And I signed a 2-year deal, and we stopped. We didn't get paid for the last 3 months of the season, and it was just like excuse after excuse after excuse.
Mm.
And we had Dino Marmira as manager. He came in like November, October, and we were flying. We were on the brink of the playoffs, but nobody could really stop us. And when they started messing around with everyone's money, and then Dino left, he got a job at Stevenage, and the players just like was up down tools, and we didn't get
Yeah.
paid. And even ended up leaving to go to Tamworth. The club still owed me money, but obviously was never going to get it. So it was. From then, it was just weird club. Went back and I loved it. Completely different club. Had no idea what was coming around the corner was coming.
Mm.
Again, another top changer, and we had some really good players and good lads that I still speak to quite a lot now. And we just, again, it was a lot was evolved around beer. After training, we'd all be drinking, and it was a great group. Obviously, lost in the playoff final, but yeah, then I never knew that what was coming was coming. You started hearing rumours when I'd left that I dodged a bullet, and I didn't know
Mm.
what was coming was actually going to happen. But yeah, then you find out what it is, and it's a shame 'cause it's a massive club, massive
Yeah, no,
support
definitely. Yeah,
base.
yeah.
Like we had 5,500 or something in the playoff final in step 3. Like
Mm.
comparing that, it's like similar attendances in bloody the Spanish B League, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Like it's mental when you think about it. And yeah, it's a shame because it's a big club, and hopefully they get back to where they should be, which
No,
really is.
definitely. It is a shame because there is so many clubs in non-league, isn't there, who have fallen the same sort of way as Nuneaton, like Colesville last season, who resigned from the league. They're now in step 6.
Yeah,
You look at like Macclesfield, who are now on an upwards trajectory now, top of their league, but they've gone through
yeah,
financial problems in the past as well. So it is almost like the sad dark side of non-league a little bit, isn't it?
yeah. It is, and it's. I don't know what it is, but you see like Bury and even
Yeah,
like big clubs that have just fallen, and like whether they're chasing a dream to keep pushing up the leagues in terms of the league football, and it just bites them on the backside eventually. But yeah, it's a shame, really. But then you look at some of the clubs that are now going to like we went to Grimsby, and it's a massive club, and they
mm.
dropped right down, and people who Conference North are going away to Scunthorpe, and you're like, most of us remember them in the Championship League One, and dog and duck teams now are going to play at
Yeah,
Scunthorpe. So it is good in that sense that it brings the bottom to the top, essentially. But it's a
yeah.
shame for the clubs themselves. Yeah, and I wouldn't like to be in a club where it's going off like that.
No, and it leads us on quite nicely just before we talk about what's happening this season with Quorn, because I want to speak about, like non-league and non-league in general over the past decade with yourself, because we spoke to the Corby captain, Rory McCauley, last time, and a number of other players who have played at step 1 to step 4, including Tom Tonks as well. Um, and these sort of people give such insight to non-league and how well it's run and the challenges and so forth, the differences within every club. So I guess to start it off with you then, mate, what do you think are the biggest challenges from non-league now compared to, a decade ago when you were breaking into non-league?
Biggest challenges. Um, I think everyone's after the dream. I do
Mm,
think that players, from a player's side of it, they're still. So back when I started in non-league 10, 15 years ago, it was like, you're here, this is it, you're non-league, get over it. Like the pitches are rubbish, the football's rubbish. There's no real tactics or anything like that. Like, I did one the other week, and Marcus Bignott was the first time, really, manager that was away from the 4-4-2. We're going to kick it long, and we're going to chase in the corners, and we're going to get set pieces. He actually had a style of play, and that was at Solihull when he came in. But before then, there was nothing really like that out there.
yeah,
So there's that side of it as well, where the tactical is a lot higher now, and technical ability is obviously on the rise as well, and it does filter down from the top. It probably starts from the way the managers are now in the
Mm.
Prem. And everyone wants to play this lovely brand of football, and every player wants to look like a player in the Prem, like centre halves wanting to play like John Stones, and just because they think that will help them get the move that they want
Yeah.
to get up in the league. And that is like the expectations from players to think that if they play well, they should get a move, and if they play well for 3 games, there should be a club watching them. Whereas back in the day, it was just play well and play well and play well. And the biggest thing that we if you saw the I can't remember his name, the England C manager, Fairclough or something like that. If he was at a game, you're like, woo.
Yeah.
I think this is for me because I'm playing France. So in England, it was to get an England C. Now it's like I don't know if people care about it or not, but you
Yeah.
don't hear as much about it, and people are getting moves. But I do think the gap's closing. I think like we had Dinanga at Nuneaton with us, who's just gone
Hmm.
from Step 3 Telford to League One Shrewsbury, and
Yeah.
we had Carl Stewart from Leamington's was at Step 4 last season. He's gone to Shrewsbury as well, and you just think there's a lot more players moving to the league because I don't think the gap's as big anymore.
Mm.
But I think that's just because non-league's catching up a bit tactically and technically, whereas before it was just, this is non-league, your pitches are crap, you can't play football on it, pointless trying to play, let's get 2 big lads and let's just hoof the ball. Whereas now people take care of the pitch. There's a lot more Astro pitches and stuff as
Yeah,
well.
there
So
is. Yeah.
helps the spectacle.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned those January signings there because I was going to speak on a couple of them because I don't know about yourself, but I feel there maybe is more eyes on non-league and EFL clubs are maybe more willing as such to maybe pluck young talent out of like step 3, step 4, rather than just national league, national law, maybe some lower levels as well. There's a kid at, I think it's Amersham in like step 4, not step 4, sorry, step 6. He's got like 150 goals in like the last 2-3 seasons. And EFL clubs are looking around him. National League Pro clubs are looking around him. So I think there's maybe more eyes on those sort of levels. And you look at like Chris Clark, who's gone from Altrincham to Peterborough in recent years as well. And I think it is also because, like you said, the gap is getting smaller, isn't it? And there is more technical ability in non-league rather than just lumping it forward to the big number 9.
Yeah, spot on. It is. I do believe that it's getting, like that, the technical. But in terms of a club from League Two trying to get someone from conference, the money's that good in the conference and
Mm.
north that players will be like, well, I'm on X amount here. This League Two or League One club will need to double my money for me to go because I'm happy here. I've got a lot of money. Like the budgets are phenomenal at some of the clubs in that level, and the club sizes are massive. You've only got to see what happens when clubs go up. They go up again, and it's like a thing now that League Two isn't even that, probably not even ahead of the conference. Like if
No,
anyone played
yeah.
the whole 40 odd teams together, the conference teams wouldn't finish bottom 20 in that league. There's a
No,
massive
definitely not, though.
shift in how much money is in non-league, and I just think it's owners maybe looking at it from the outside. Well, if we can get to the holy grail of League Two, we can have a go here and
Mm.
pump some money in at a Conference North team or a Step 3 team like you see Kettering now. Their owners must be dreaming of the Football League.
Yeah.
Definitely, to be putting that money in and backing Labs, the manager, is unbelievable. It's great for the club and stuff, but there's a reason they're doing it. And it's because that you can see how much you can get from getting into the league, and you see all these clubs that have done it and are doing it, like Macclesfield are as well. You do Wrexham or Notts County, you can get up and get up again.
No, definitely. I mean, I think that also leads us on nicely to like the future of non-league because something else Rory said, especially it happens in your league as well. It's only 2 promotion spots, isn't it? Out of the sort of like the step 4 sort of step levels, and it's the same with the National League as well. Like you look at that year where Wrexham and Notts County went up, it would have been mad that one team that finishes over. They obviously both went up, but if one of them that was over 100 points didn't go up, it's ludicrous, somewhat, isn't it? So do you? Yeah, do you think it's something that the FA, the Football Association, need to look at in the coming years to try and maybe get an extra playoff spot, not just in the National League to League Two, but in other leagues as well in non-league?
I do, yeah. I personally think it's a crime. I think I've said this for ages, but in terms of the FA, they're not great at much that we do. I think they're miles off thinking about what we're doing in the league
Yeah.
to care. To be honest, I don't think they care about us down here and all the rules and all these different stuff that they constantly change. And it's a weird one, but it would be a lot better. It's a crime that there's only one team promoted from each league. It's terrible
Mm.
because in leagues you can like Solihull in the conference. They've been knocking on door. It's only one game, like the playoff
Yeah.
final, or what they finished second and third, and whatever they've done, they've just not been able to get to League Two, and they're investing. And at some point, their money's going to dry up, and at some
Mm-hmm.
point, they're probably going to have a dip and come back down because you can't keep financing near misses, and it's a shame that what they're trying to do, and then you look at teams above them in League Two that are just there to survive. They ain't
No,
trying to
exactly. Yeah.
want to stay in League Two, and it's a shame that even from down to our level, like we've had a good season, but out the teams below us, you can't really pick who's going to win in a one-off match to get promoted in the playoffs or in the league below that. It's quite tight, and you look at Step 3, it's really tight. That
Yeah.
more than one team and one team from a playoff deserves to go and have a chance of the league above.
No,
100%.
definitely. And I think something else you also say, often the team that comes in second don't always get promoted, do they? It is normally a team that finishes lower down in those playoff spots. And I think it's even more ludicrous when you look at going back to League Two, there's 4 teams that get promoted out of that and 4 teams that get relegated from League One, whereas there's only 2 teams that go up from the National League. It's definitely a structure that needs to be looked at and needs to be evaluated. But let's just talk about Quorn then now, mate, and what's happening there this season. Before we go into it, how did the move originally come about? Sorry, for you to go to Quorn as a player.
Well, I live in the next village next to Quorn, so we just lost the playoff final for Nuneaton to get to the Conference North, and my wife was pregnant at the time. She basically said, "That's it. I'm done with football," just because of all the travelling and
Mm.
everything that comes. Like I mentioned earlier, the sacrifices that I have to make, she has to make. So with a baby coming into our lives, she was like, "Well, can't do it on my own. You've got to
Mm.
stop playing football." And I was like, "I don't want to stop. I love it. I can't, but I'll try and sort something." Like I was dead set on staying at Nuneaton until that happened. And
Yeah.
it just randomly I know Lavs used to play against Lavs a little bit, and then he was the manager here, and they just said, "Do you fancy Quorn?" And I was like, "You know what? Couldn't have timed this better." It was just a
Mm.
random phone call, like, "Do you want it?" And I said, "Yeah." It's literally 4 minutes from my house. So I said to the missus that I'm going to carry on playing, but it's round the corner, and she was happy with that. And then, yeah, just had last season with them. It was different, but enjoyed it. And then, yeah, now we're here this season.
Yeah, and then with this season, you are still playing, but you're also the player manager, player coach. How has that been for you so far this season? And how did the club approach you to take over the role at the beginning of the year?
Well, I think it came about just because I was there in the building, really, and there's a few people that put my name forward. I never even considered it. Always thought I'd go into management at some point in my
Mm.
life. I always had a bit of a football brain, but I always said I would never do the co-jobs of player manager or player coach.
Yeah.
I think it's too hard to be in both camps, and it is hard. It's properly hard work. But someone else, we played Corby the other day, and I spoke to Setch after. I said, he's done like 700 and something games as a manager, and you just think that's unbelievable. When I'm done 20 something, and the stress and the constant on your phone, like even since we've been on this, I've had texts from the lads about training tomorrow, and they can't make it for different reasons, and it's constantly there's something that needs sorting or addressing
Yeah.
or someone who I need to speak to about something. But I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it, but I think it's the results have helped.
Mm.
Like I said, she's not really had adversity in terms. We've had a load of injuries and suspensions this season, which is adversity on the pitch. But in terms of dealing with a bad run of form or people falling out and stuff like that, I've not had to deal with anything like that.
Yeah.
Just because the group of lads I've got is unbelievable. We've got a great group of people, and that was when I took the job in the summer. My first thing was I need to just get good people in. ability wise, it's like there's better players, there's better squads than us out there. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of people and togetherness and characters and people who listen and just do their jobs, I couldn't wish for any more than this for a first job, because they're all phenomenal, and they've made my life really, really easy.
I mean, how was it received in the dressing room? Because you always said like a couple of people put your name forward and so forth like that. How was it received along your teammates? Because how do you deal with being a coach on one side to them, but also a teammate on the other? Because it is two different dynamics in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, massively, and that was my biggest fear. I've always been a captain when I've played, so I've always been quite vocal. And if I think someone's not doing it, I tell them, and I'm quite straight to the point, especially during the game. So my initial thoughts when I got offered it was, I don't think I can, because I'll just lose their respect. Like the way I speak to
Mm.
people on the pitch sometimes is a bit over the top, and then if I've got to go in and then deliver a team talk and tell them what I expect of them, it's just a bit. I didn't think it would work, but like I said, they're just good people, and they've helped me so much, and I've managed to continue playing. I've had to try and simmer down a bit on the pitch and let my captain talk for me. If I've got someone needs a rollicking, I'll just try
Yeah.
and get him to do it for me, because I've got to keep the respect from the lads. But they've made it easy. It's been not easy. It's still not easy, but they've made my life easier just because of how they've received me. There wasn't really much surprise from them, because I was
Mm.
with them last year, and they respected me anyway. I think because I'd come down from higher, so they knew that I had a decent enough pedigree as a player. And spending a year with me as their captain, they all showed me respect, which was lovely last year. And then, I don't think they really batted an eyelid to me getting a job, and hopefully they've enjoyed their season so far.
Well, I'm sure they must have been. It must have been received well, because you go on about the success almost as such on the pitch. You're 19 points clear at the top in step four. Just one defeat, I believe, isn't it, in the league up to this point. You're arguably one of the most informed teams in across non-league at the moment. What's your assessment of the season so far, and did you expect it to go this well?
No, I didn't expect it as well. I said to someone before, what did I expect? I said, if I got past the first month, I've done all right. Like,
Yeah.
I've probably not been battered 5-0 every week. You get pre-season went really well. We had some good results in pre-season, and then you sort of expectations. You hear people talking about it, but we're only a tiny club. We get average gate's gone up massively this year. We're probably at 250, 280 this year, but last year
Mm.
our average gate was like 150 or something like that, and we're such a small club. Even in this league, it was small, and so there was no real expectation. There was no pressure set on you must do this and this and this. And we just started, and it just went well, and the lads bought into everything that I imagined a football team to look. Because I've always been quite vocal. I've fell out of managers and argued with coaches before about team selections and the way we play. So it was nice to have it all myself,
Yeah.
to pick formations or players or teams or personnel. So it's been nice in that sense. And like it has gone well. I can't hide behind the fact that we're doing unbelievable, and I know that it's not going to be like this every single season. So I'm trying to enjoy it,
Yeah.
but you're only a couple of weeks away from getting caught back up. Football's a
No,
funny,
exactly. Yeah.
especially at this level, because anything can happen. Like I say to the lads, football's not the be all and end all in life. So you can go on holiday, you can go weddings during this, whatever. Your life's more important than football. So
Mm-hmm.
at some point, there's probably going to be a few people at a wedding on the same day, and it will be had no players to play. But no, I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the lads. I've really enjoyed the other side of it, even speaking to other managers. I don't do it a lot, but people like Setch that played the other day, I
Yeah.
speak to, and great guy, and just learn from people like him, and other managers in the league like Brad Munn at Long Eaton I speak to a bit. But it's been a good journey so far.
I mean, and then just to look for the future as well, you obviously said you always thought about coaching, thought about going into management. Is it definitely something you look forward to when the time does come to hang up your boots full time?
Yeah, I don't like to think about it because I love playing.
Yeah.
I really enjoy playing. Like everyone keeps saying to me, even Corby, like the other day, like when are you going to stop? Like, I don't know when, but I love playing football. So it's
Mm.
not something that I've thought about too much. What I'm going to do, but yeah, it is since I was younger that I knew when I stopped, I would like to stay in football, doing the coaching and managing, and where that is or how that looks, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to get by week to week at the minute and enjoy. Well, I love non-league. Love non-league. So there's no like aspirations to go to bloody league football. I know a lot of
Mm.
managers in Big Nut who I spoke about earlier. His thing was I'm going to manage in the league, and he did. And that was his thing. Whereas I don't have that desire to get out and non-league. Like I love it. Like even Saturday sums it up. There, play. He slapped me around the head for literally no reason. Just runs by me, slapped me, and then in the bar he buys me a beer to say sorry. And that's just how good non-league is. It's
Yeah,
like
definitely. Yeah.
happens in the Prem. It's never happened in the lower league. Oh, he bought me a beer after. It's just like amazing that that stuff happens in this level of football.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is something that definitely sums up non-league quite well there. I mean, well, look, I'm sure I speak for everyone and for so many people where I say the job you're doing this season is fantastic and it can only be applauded. Rory, who we spoke to a couple of weeks ago, said that you can only applaud what you and Quorn are doing at the moment because he was saying how Corby are having a decent season, but there is a team having an exceptional season at the moment. So it is a credit to you and the boys what you're doing at the moment, mate. One thing that we often do on this podcast, then, mate, as we slowly start to come to an end, is we ask our guests a final few questions just before we end it. So the first one, mate, is who is the best player you've played with and the best player you've played against?
Ooh, played with is I've said is a lad called Andre Boucard.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Kettering with. He was honestly unbelievable. Unbelievable. Played with him at Kettering, and then I don't know what he did with his career or anything. He was a fucking loose cannon. Played against him at York a few years later, and again he was the best player on the pitch by a mile. But I don't know what he did
Yeah.
apart from that. But he was the best player I played with. He was phenomenal, unbelievable. Played against. I absolutely. There's a lad called Anthony Sarcevic.
Mm-hmm.
He was at Chester at the time. Then he went to. I think he's at Bolton or something like that now. He
Okay, yeah.
never made it Prem, I don't think. But we played Chester, and he literally ran me ragged. Just did whatever he wanted to do when he got the ball. He just went past me like I weren't there. When I got the ball, he just pushed me off it. He was phenomenal. He was proper good player. Yeah, it was. He
Yeah.
really took the mick out of me. There was ones when we were kids like that. When we play academy football, that make it as a pro. Like we played Jack Wilshere. He was a joke.
Yeah, I can
He only
imagine.
might be 14 or 15 playing under 18s, and you could see then that he was ridiculous. But in terms of men's football, it'd be
Yeah.
them too.
I mean, and the final question then, mate, is, it was sort of like a leave-in message we ask every guest. And the question we ask is, if you have any advice for someone who's struggling to find their feet in football or just general life, what would that advice be?
Speak, speak to people. Like you see it a lot now that people tend to try and resolve stuff themselves, and they don't think that they can lean on someone's shoulder or ask someone for advice. Like I love our group. We've got like I said, these young lads that they'll ask me questions, like loads of questions, and I love it. And I just think that's in life, in everything. If I'm quite a question person, if I don't understand something, I'll ask a question. If I'm not sure on something, I'll ask. And I just think people
Mm,
need to be reassured in their life that it's fine to speak and ask. If you're not feeling great about something, say something. If you're not feeling confident, ask a question to help you get an answer to that problem you might have, whether it's how you're feeling or what you're doing or what you're going to do next. It's just speaking to people is such a massive tool, especially for men because they find it hard. Like I go to the pub a lot, as you could probably tell, but I like a beer. Even our group at the pub, we just chat, and it's just nice to hear people. They'll say something that you're like, oh, right, that's you're right, and they're like, this and that. So it's just a way of people sort of voicing what they need is they just need to speak.
no, I 100% agree with you there, mate, and I 100% echo what you've just said there. I think that perfectly rounds us off then, mate. Look, thank you for coming on today, Ryan. I really do appreciate it, and I wish you and Quorn the best of luck for the rest of the season, pal.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
That's right, mate. And thank you once again to ST Flooring for sponsoring this episode. As always, thank you to everyone who has tuned in. We'll be back with more content in the coming weeks. I am flying to Milan in a couple of days, so I'm going to take a little break. But until then, I will see you later. Perfect. Nice one.